Hi all, I have another fun game to show you from the Chess.com Computer Championship. Leela 11089 was playing against Texel 1.07. So let's have a look at this game. So 15 minutes with 5-second increments. D4 from Leela. We have D5, C4, C6, knight F3. And there is a pawn to be grabbed here, and black actually does grab it. Is this too greedy? E3. I thought this could be some sort of opening disaster here, especially after seeing this next move, bishop e6, which of course blocks in this bishop. If black wants to sort of develop with normality, then maybe g6, bishop g7, but this takes time. Leela hits this pawn. Another used method in theory is a4. For example, this position has been seen before with knight a3 here, and knight takes c4. This kind of position, though, sometimes it's leading to a small edge, and maybe that is one of the great ways to go. So that's interesting as well. But so Leela kind of plays in an original way here. Knight bd2, b5, and now a4, a6. Is black clinging on to this extra pawn? Where is the punishment? So let's see. Another, by the way, here, instead of a6, if queen a5, this position, if we just follow it through with g6, knight g5 can be quite interesting for whites because of e4. This is pretty sharp stuff, but here knight b3 hits the queen and hits the bishop, and seems to give white a promising position. This is a big advantage here for white. Look at the structure of black, etc. So okay, so this is interesting now. A6. We have A takes, C takes, and now Leela plays B3. Very interesting. So undermining this pawn chain, and you can see that if C takes, then there's things like bishop takes B5 check with that pin. That's horrible. So we have actually C3 though, which makes a big difference here, hitting the knight. Leela plays this continuation anyway. She doesn't retreat this knight. It might be possible for black even to consider b4 on something like this. This might not be that clever. So actually, you know, we have bishop takes. So basically here, c takes is running with check. So Leela has given up two minor pieces for a rook. Very interesting imbalance. Bishop d5 hits that rook. So I thought when I was watching the stream there might be time for queen a1 to a7. No such thing. The bishop immediately evicts the rook, and also, frighteningly, also now kind of enables e6 potentially, and normal development. Has Leela messed this up? If we look at this position with knight f6, fascinatingly, either queen c2 or queen c1 carry a deadly threat here. For example, let me just show you, g6. Can you see what the deadly threat for white would be here, and why queen c2 puts that deadly threat in focus now? If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video here, white's play. Okay, bishop a5, yeah, hits the queen and deprives the queen of c8. That's the key thing. Either queen c2 or queen c1 deprives the queen of c8. Well, we could take it and take b8. That's the thing. And if, you know, here rook takes, so that will be a disaster. So this position, very, very interesting. Why, you know, perhaps knight f6, queen c2 is interesting. So normal development seems to be a bit tricky here. So bishop d5, this forcing move instead. So the rook goes all the way back, depriving the a1 square. So I was a little bit saddened by this. And then we have f6. You might wonder, f6? Why not a normal move like e6? Or, you know, other things. Well, if e6, let's have a look. Queen c2, queen e2, pardon me, now hits b5. This position, it seems as though b5 is a target, though. The rook goes back, reverberates back to hit b5. And here, e4, this can be quite strong because, look at this, there's an overload of b8 and the bishop on e4. This is nasty. A beautiful queen sack variation where the black pieces are embarrassed, all being back at base, and white ends up being better here. So very interesting variation there. If we just check that through again here, if bishop d6, knight e5, for example, this continuation is going to be slightly better for white as well. Okay, so f6 was played, which does have some good points to it. It deprives the knight of the e5 square. It gives the king potentially f7 as well. Queen e2, we have queen d7 protecting that b5 pawn. Here, on king f7 here, e4 and d5, and there's an immediate plan of knight d4 to e6, which reminds me of some famous Steinitz game where a knight was entrenched on e6. Yeah, that's pretty dangerous. This position is mega dangerous. Octopus knight. So that kind of thing has to be avoided. So we have queen d7, and now rook a5, knight c6. Now here, actually, the rook goes back to check. Yeah, a reverberating rook in this position. If instead there, by the way, bishop c6, this scenario is good with e4. This is a very dangerous scenario for black because of the possibility of e5, not trying to open the e5, but e5 is mega dangerous with possibilities of e6 once that's supported here. For example, e6 is threatened. And this gets extremely dangerous for black. This scenario gets extremely dangerous. White's sort of, yeah, really exposing black, opening up black here. So we have knight c6, check, and now knight d8 hits the rook again. Reverberating rook time. We have rook b8 going for that b5 pawn now, e6. Bishop a5 though, pinning this knight, torturing the knight first to force bishop e7 basically. Now white castles. So at leisure going to be taking on b5 at the moment. King f7. Now also interesting, by the way, my own question was knight h6 to develop a piece, and this is actually, it turns out this might actually be a reasonable move. Just castling like this normally, this situation seems okay. It seems about even. So this was interesting. King f7 though as well. Maybe I'm only looking at certain depths, so the Texel engine must have seen much further. It seems at a certain level to be a toss-up here between king f7 and knight h6. But anyway, e4, bishop b7, and now d5. And for me, I don't know if it's a fault in my thinking. I always think open the e file. Maybe that's a little bit immature, because actually there is something when you take away the e6 pawn, you've basically unblocked the e pawn. So you know, e5, e6 is also sometimes just as important as opening up the e file. And here the possibility. Yeah, the idea was actually e5. Yeah, it creates some issues with this e6 now, or you know, taking on d8 and maybe e6 later. Bang, you know, it's a very dangerous forcing move. On e takes, it's actually nothing here to write home about after bishop takes. Opening up this e file, it's actually more important to, it seems, to keep this pawn. So with these threats, we have knight e6 blockading. Because yeah, there might be tactical things like taking and an e6, deflecting the queen away from the bishop. So blockading this pawn now became a priority. But now e takes, and this is threatening knight e5 check. So if knight takes, then there's bang, knight e5, and it's actually not even just check. It's not just winning the queen; it's checkmate here. So that's something to be. That's why a safety point. G takes. Knight h4, which introduces ideas of queen h5 check. Now that's parried as well by a backward knight move retreat, holding the h5 square. Say bishop c6, check. And actually here, there's splat knight f5 checkmate. So the knight on f5 does actually do the job there. Beware of the knight on f5. So knight g7. Rook c1 introduces rook c7 now as a major threat. Bishop c6 blocks that. Just to put this on the board, how deadly is this? Well, here, knight f3, and at leisure even taking that bishop. No, so this bishop is like kind of cut off. That's absolutely unthinkable. No, the bishop has to stay on the board and block against rook c7. So queen f3, we have f5, and now rook b6 hitting that poor bishop again. And this, by the way, unveiled an attack on h4. So it's a complex scenario here. And Leela was just counterattacking this bishop now on c6. Now this is taken. Bishop takes h4 is taken. If the bishop moves here, there's actually the interesting queen g3, it seems, which not only protects the knight, but introduces rook c7 again, potentially. And say taking this scenario is very pleasant for white. Very pleasant scenario. Okay, advantage to white. So bishop takes h4. And curiously, we have, this is another counterintuitive thing, a problem with my own thinking. I think the patterns I've learned, and sometimes it's difficult to sort of get away from those patterns because I'm screaming for, in the back of my head, for rooks on the 7th. But here Leela's going for rooks on the 6th, which I found really quite unusual. But there are some fascinating variations involving target squares here like f6, which justifies rooks on the 6th. But more concretely, if we look at rooks on the 7th here, with this approach for rook c7, it seems so attractive, and within one's own thinking patterns of our own neural network, so to speak. This actually, it seems as though black is adequately defended here and can actually centralize with an advantage. If there's no real breakdown laterally across the row, then this rook on a 7th might not have as much teeth as one would imagine. So here black actually gets a big advantage, and there's things like knight f3. It's not very nice at all for white. So this is the way to play it, it seems, even though it seems a little bit counterintuitive. Knight e7, rook d6, queen a7, rook a6. And we have queen d4, which introduces queen a1 rather cheekily. Look at the back row. For the moment, queen a1 is threatened. This gives the king some air, as well as hitting the bishop. Now, we have actually rook g8, bishop c3, queen e4, wanting a train of queens, it seems. But Leela goes with a backward queen retreat. So this is becoming one of her iconic type moves, a backward queen retreat to d1. Triangulation, as one of you commented recently, is an interesting concept in chess, where you've got the V. The big V here for the queen on d1. It's a V of opportunity, V for victory. So black plays f4 here. Let's have a look. Why f4? Just to get to know this position a little bit more. If h5, it seems actually there's interesting stuff going on here, like bishop f6, using the rooks on the 6th. This is such an unusual theme for most human board games. Over the board games, rooks on the 6th, making use of f6. But this is really quite dangerous. If here check, here queen f1 hits b5, and that would be checked, so that's very important. Protecting the pawn, but queen e2, for example. And white here could end up with a big advantage. It seems very unpleasant for black in this position. If we look again at this with, say, bishop g5, this is really interesting. Bishop takes g7, and if king takes, there's the beautiful queen a1 here. Check. Very nice move to play. And actually, again, the rooks on the 6th do something quite functional, that f6 square. I've actually not really seen this game pattern before, which is why I find it kind of fascinating, that the rooks on the 6th definitely like more dangerous than rooks on the 7th. So here, for example, it could end up in tears, in checkmate. So that's very, very interesting stuff. Now let's have a look again at this line with bishop g5 here. Bishop takes. So we looked at here, king takes, which allows queen a1. What about rook takes? Then check, taking here. This scenario is interesting. But it's actually more interesting, it seems, for white, because white ends up the exchange up. So that's more interesting for white. So there's very interesting ideas with the rooks on the 6th, which unusual actually. f4 is played. We have bishop takes g7, rook takes. Now check, and this actually forces a big simplification, because the rooks can't be allowed to crash down. That would be like mating. this is not very pleasant. Checkmate. Yeah, there's no defense there. So we actually this cashes out. Queen takes d5 into an endgame. Cashed out the middle game into an endgame. Is it very good for white? Is it enough? Can Leela navigate away from table-based draws? That was the big concern of most people watching this. Is this going to head to a table-based draw? Because in a prior round, the classic crafty managed to get a crafty draw, which I should really cover at some point. But so we were concerned, could Leela actually navigate this into a winning position? For sure. So here that hits the rook, so we get more simplification. I thought intuitively there's an overstretch here because of this outside b pawn. I thought this is actually in white's favour, and Leela starts pushing black back really. The knight and bishop a little bit getting a bit overloaded on both sides of the board. The actions of Leela on both sides of the board. They are, the main focus is to lock down b4 it seems, but Leela is weaving her way for creating the opposition now. So wonderful play. Rook d8 now, force bishop f8, and then b4, for example. We have rook c4 here. And this now looks overwhelming. This looks absolutely overwhelming, this position. And this is where black gives up material. We have knight g5, king takes. So, yeah, Leela did crash through in this endgame. The knight and bishop did seem to be overloaded. And now it's just a matter of checkmating the king, because these games are played to the death, so to speak. So here, let's carry on to the death. Queen takes h6, checkmate. So I thought this game was really quite interesting. Some new themes that I haven't really thought of before. For my own intuitive thinking, it seems some counterintuitive ideas like, d5 as a pawn sack for e5 instead of rooks on the 7th, rooks on the 6th. There are some really more accurate thematic ideas we can pick up from games like this, which can make all the difference between our plans having teeth or not, basically. I hope you got something out of it, as I think I have, and enjoyed it. Comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. Okay, thanks very much.